Street Fighter 6 winners aren't born, they're made, and these skills are the blueprint. So in this video, I'll cover 7 skills pros will use in 2025 to separate themselves from online warriors and cement themselves as the best in the world. I'll also show you a clip from MenaRD where he goes over his strategies going into the new year. So let's get into it. First technique here, and probably the most obvious, it's going to be their ability to check drive rushes. So here's going to be a basic punish for drive check. Something like that. Pro players are going to develop stronger ways and more consistent ways to get more damage out of these situations. Something like that. So let's try something that uses a bit more of our drive gauge and our super bar. So let's go for a level 3 combo here. Essentially, this year pros are going to be punishing drive rushes much more consistently and with much more efficient combos. Okay, so that about wraps it up for number 1. So the second skill that pro players will have that most people won't, we will see more parries into drive impacts, and specifically against multi-hit attacks. So let's take a look at Rashid, for example. So this move right here is pretty hard to parry and to punish accordingly, especially in the corner. Watch, take a look at this. So the timing to punish that is pretty difficult. So what we can do in this case is a perfect parry into drive impact. And then we'll just use whatever combo to punish him accordingly. So for example, we can do something like this. So that's a level 3 punish that we can use, or we can try level 2. Pretty much this year pros will have better parries because they'll be better prepared for multi-hit attacks. So moving on to number 3, top players will have much better reactions to projectiles this year. Here's just a few ways to get around some of the stronger projectiles in the game. This year we're going to see much more projectile counters than ever before. Alright, let's jump on over to number 4. So with players having more knowledge about the game now, they're more likely to react to situations where there's trades. So we'll see a lot more trade combos. Here's a few examples of what I mean. This year, pros will be more consistent with their trade combos, they'll hit harder, and hopefully they'll be flashier too. Okay, so that's it for number 4, trade combos. Let's talk about how pros this year will be attacking their opponent's parry. So what do I mean by that? Well, without going into too much detail, let me just explain a little bit about parries. Basically, while you're holding a parry, you can block high, low, left or right. It does it automatically for you. And also, as soon as you parry an attack, you can go straight into taking your opponent's throw, as well as to doing drive impacts. However, there is some recovery for the parry action, and it's during those recovery frames where the opponent has to block correctly, left to right, high or low. And also, while they're recovering, they can't take any actions whatsoever, which means that they are really susceptible to DIs, especially in the corner, and when they guess wrong on their blocks, the attacks will always be punish counters. So that being said, I think this year pros will focus more on attacking the opponent's parry animation. They're going to either hit them during recovery, they're going to make them guess high or low, or they're going to hit them with drive impacts much more consistently than we have seen in the past. The 6th skill that top players will develop this year is the ability to punish whiff normals and specials with drive rush attacks. Here's an example where a stronger punish would have netted a round win. I'm sure Tokido will rewatch this match and practice a kill combo to punish this in the future. Perhaps something like this. Also, normals with more recovery will be much more dangerous to throw out because of this development. So step up your drive rush punishes if you want to keep up with the pros this year. Alright, so the last thing I wanted to talk about today has less to do with in-game mechanics and more to do with things outside the game and the overall meta of fighting games in general. Pro players will always look for the most consistent path to victory, and recently we've been hearing and seeing top players use multiple characters in tournaments. They think Street Fighter 6 is a volatile game at its core, so tough character matchups or even player matchups will not be tolerated. In case that's a little confusing, let's hear from the winner of EVO Japan 2024 and two-time Capcom Cup champion, MenaRD.
But I'm focusing on using new characters. So when I go to the cup, they don't have a chance to nerf it. They're not gonna see me play in the practice room and then nerf him. So I'm just preparing that.
Okay. That's interesting you brought that up because there is no secret to the recipe of success there for NuckleDu, right? It's all on display.
At the same time, if your strategy is out in the open, then you're prone to get counterpicked. In my case, because I stopped being a character specialist, part of my strategy is to counterpick. So if you know what character I'm going to use for you and what strategy I'm going to use for you, then you're able to see it and counterpick me. So for the way I play, I like to have that surprise factor. In my case, it's a matter of strategy, of psychology. So yeah, it's very interesting to see. I love the different approaches that players have.
So that clip was taken from a really good interview that Brian F. did with MenaRD just last week. So I recommend you go and check out the whole thing. Great information all around. There's some great tips that Mena gives near the end of the interview. So check that out as well. That's going to do it for today. I'll be back with a new video soon. Have a great New Year's, everyone. 2025 is going to be full of opportunities for us all. So let's make sure to take advantage. Take care.